What's up, peers, and welcome back to the World Crypto Network. Here, continuing our reading of the Bitcoin OpTech Group newsletter. Thank you very much to all the principals and associates of this awesome organization. Also, of course, thank you to the funding sponsors to make this possible. Today, we read newsletter number 46 on May 14th, 2019. This week's newsletter includes a special section about the recent Taproot proposal, news about a small potential change to the BIP174 partially signed Bitcoin transaction format, and our regular section about Bech32 sending support, and notable changes in popular infrastructure projects. Action items, none this week other than getting educated about Taproot. Dashboard items, higher fee rates. At the time of writing, estimated fee rates for confirmation in the next two blocks are 10 times higher than the estimation for confirmation within 30 blocks, which is 6 hours, and 100 times higher than the estimation for waiting 144 blocks, which is 1 day or more. This may mean that's still an opportunity to cheaply consolidate a modest number of inputs in the case fee rates rise even further, but only if you can tolerate a potentially long wait for the consolidation transaction to confirm. News. Soft fork discussion. Several replies were posted to the Bitcoin Dev mailing list in response to the BIP Taproot and BIP Tapscript. Additionally, Anthony Towns posted a proposal for an additional soft fork change that uses the BIP Taproot feature to enable functionality similar in purpose to BIP 118 Zcash no input. And this week's newsletter already includes a special section about Taproot. We are deferring summaries of the feedback and extensions to next week's newsletter, so readers can have some time to digest the essentials of Taproot first. And we have additions of derivation paths to BIP 174 partially signed Bitcoin transaction. Stepan Snergov posted a suggestion to the Bitcoin Dev mailing list to allow PSBTs to include a BIP32 derivation path for the public keys used to generate the change outputs addresses. This can help multi-sig wallets to determine whether or not the transaction's change output pays back to the correct set of signers. The author of BIP174, Andrew Chow, was receptive to the idea, as well as the developers for a hardware wallet. Overview of Taproot and Tapscript proposed Bitcoin improvement proposals. Last week, Peter Woolley emailed the Bitcoin Dev mailing list with a link to two proposed BIPs. The first, BIP Taproot, permits spending using either a Schnorr-style signature or a Merkleized script. The second, BIP Tapscript, defines a slight variant on Bitcoin's existing script language to be used in BIP Taproot's Merkle spends. For readers already familiar with the Bitcoin scripting and ideas like Merkleized abstract syntax trees or script trees, it should be possible to understand these BIPs directly. For readers with less background, we've prepared the following summary of some key features for the proposal by looking at them from the point of view of an existing wallet that wants to upgrade to use Taproot and Tapscript. This only skims the surface of what these proposals make available, as one reason developers have been waiting for Schnorr signatures and mask-based encumbrances is that they provide a building blocks for new features that were previously difficult or impossible to build on Bitcoin. We leave the description of those advances for another time and focus here on how the two proposed BIPs can make existing uses of Bitcoin work even better than they do today. Please note, all Taproot features will be opt-in for wallets, so no existing wallet will need to change how it works. Only wallets that want to take advantage of the benefits of Taproot and Tapscript will need to upgrade. What is not in the proposal? Before we look at what features the proposal may add to Bitcoin, let's take a moment to look at some things that are not part of the proposal. First, No cross-input signature aggregation. Just like current Bitcoin transaction, each input will need to contain all its required signatures. This means transactions such as consolidations and coin joins won't receive any special discount. If the Taproot and Tapscript proposal becomes part of Bitcoin, we think developers will continue to look for ways to bring cross input signature aggregation to Bitcoin in future soft forks. But they'll need to find a way to address complications that were discovered doing their research into the advanced techniques described by BIP Taproot. See newsletter number 3 for related discussions on the context of BIP Schnorr. No new SIG hash, no new SIG hash types. Although some existing SIG hash types are tweaked a bit, the proposal do not offer anything similar to BIP118 SIG hash no input. However, BIP Tapscript does provide a forward compatibility mechanism, a tagged public keys, that will make it easy for future soft forks to extend the signature checking opcodes with new SIG hash types or other changes. No activation mechanism specified. If users decided they want to begin enforcing the soft fork's new rules, safety requirements, that enough of them begin enforcing the new rules at the same block so that miners are deterred from creating blocks that violate the new rules. Various mechanisms have been used to approach this in the past, and other options have been described for potential future use. However, BIP Taproot does not mention any of these techniques. OpTech agrees with the primary author of the BIP that activation discussion is premature. We first need to ensure that there is a widespread agreement that the proposals are safe and desirable before we start to debate about the best way to activate them. Single signature spending using Taproot. To look at what's in the proposal, we'll primarily examine how existing use cases could be transferred to Taproot. The best place to start by looking at the way most wealth is transferred via Bitcoin protocol right now. Single signature paid to public key hash and paid to witness public key hash spends. Single sig paid to witness public key hash wallets today currently generate a private key. They derive a public key, the pub key, from it and hash that pub key to create the witness program for a Bech32 address. Pay to public key hash is functionally identical but uses a different script and a different address encoding. The object, the operation, and the example results for a private key is read a 32 bytes from a cryptographically secure pretty random number generator or using BIP32 hierarchical deterministic derivation. And this would be a private key result. The public key is this point or a point of this private key, or using the BIP32 HD public derivation, which would give this public key. The hash is a write MD hash of a SHA-256 hash of that public key, giving this result. And then the address is a encoding of, this with a BC, a 0, and then the hexadecimal of this hash. Under Taproot, we are hashing. The hashing step will be skipped, and so the Bech32 address will contain the pub key directly with one small change. Currently, 33-byte Bitcoin-style pub keys are encoded to start with either 0x02 or 0x03 to allow validators to reconstruct their keys Y coordinate on the SecP256K1 elliptical curve. In BIP Taproot, the value of the byte is reduced by 2, so that 002 becomes 0x00 and 0x03 becomes 0x01. The meaning stays the same, but using the low bit for the value frees up the remaining bits for future soft forks. Also, the witness version is changed from the 0 used for pay to witness public key hash or pay to witness script hash to a 1. This is the SegWit versioning upgrade. Again, the object operations and example results now for Taproot. The private key is same as the above, and so is the public key. But we alter a key prefix, which is the key of 0 minus 2 is key of 1 to 33, which would give this result. And a address with the Bech32 encoding of BC1 and then 0x00E5. Right here, this key prefix. Here are the examples of existing addresses compared to an example Taproot address. We would have here a pay to public key hash starting with 1, a pay to script hash starting with a 3, a pay to witness public key hash starting with a BC1QD, then a pay to script hash, which is a BC1Q, but as we see here, rather longer than the pay to witness public key hash. And then we have Taproot with a BC1 and a P, which is here because of the SegWit versioning increase, no longer a Q. And we also see that this is one letter longer than the pay to witness script hash address. Sending from pay to public key hash or pay to witness public key hash requires the spender to include their public key in their input. For Taproot, the public key was provided in the UTXO being spent, so several virtual bytes are saved by not including it again. The spend must also include a signature. This is a Schnorr-style signature as defined in BIP Schnorr, with an optional SIG-hash byte appended. If the default SIG-hash is used, the signature is 64 bytes or 16 virtual bytes. If a non-default is used, it is 65 bytes or 16.25 virtual bytes. Jumping into the footnotes. Technically, virtual bytes are an integer unit to make them backwards compatible. With the bytes unit legacy Bitcoin block weight, we use them in this document as a floating point for additional precision. And back into the text. Overall, this makes the cost to create and spend a Taproot single signature output about 5% more expensive than a pay-to-witness public key hash. This is probably not significant. The cost to create a Taproot output is almost the same as to create a pay-to-witness script hash output, which people pay all the time without issue. And the cost to spend a single key Taproot is 40% cheaper than a pay-to-witness public key hash. So here we see again the virtual bytes of pay-to-public key hash, pay-to-witness public key hash, and Taproot in the different stages. For the script pub key, they are the highest for Taproot, then pay-to-public key hash, then pay-to-witness public key hash as being cheapest. For the script signature, they are only for the pay-to-public key hash right here with 107. For both the SegWit and the Taproot here, they do not include a script signature, segregated witness, right? But therefore, they have a witness program, which is not included in the regular pay-to-public key hash, but here included with the pay-to-witness public key hash and Taproot. However, it's cheaper in Taproot than in the pay-to-witness public key hash. So in total, we see that pay-to-public key hash is the largest, mainly because of the signature, and pay-to-witness public key hash is a bit smaller than a Taproot in total. Besides the change from ECDSA to Schnorr, the signature algorithm, there are a few important but easy to implement changes to the transaction digest. The hash that a signature commits to in order to prove the transaction is an authorized script of a UTXO. Most notably, the hash used goes from the legacy protocol's double SHA-256 to a single SHA-256 operation. The extra hashing previously used is not believed to have provided any meaningful security. Additionally, the data hashed is prefixed with a value that is specific to this use of the hash function. This helps prevent problems like the CVE 2012-2459, where a hash from one context can be used in another context. The prefix tag is SHA-256 and a tag concatenated with SHA-256 and another tag. Where the tag is in this case is a UTF-8 string tab SIG hash, and concatenated stands for, well, concatenation. Software that needs to create or verify a large number of signatures, such as an active Lightning Network node or Bitcoin full node, can use a version of their SHA-256 function that has been pre-initialized with the prefix tag, so it does not need to repeat those operations for every signature verification. Implementations that do not require the maximal performance, such as ordinary wallets, can just implement an algorithm as described using their default SHA-256 library function. There are also some changes to what data is included in the hash and how it is serialized. This includes improvements that can help make wallets without access to verified UTXO entries, for example, hardware wallets and hardware secure modules, more efficient because they do not need to retrieve as much data in order to ensure they are signing the correct UTXO and amounts. Although may sound like a significant number of changes, we suspect it's only an afternoon worth of work making minor serialization changes for any wallet that is already SegWit compatible and which can gain access to the library like libsecp 256K1 for generating BIP Schnorr compatible signatures. Moving on to the simple multi-signature spending using Taproot. After signing single sig UTXO, the most common are simple multi-sig UTXOs. These are outputs that depend on a certain number of signatures from particular public keys, but do not have any other conditions. They are used both by individual users, for example, for requiring multiple devices to work together in a spend, and by multiple parties to a single transaction, for example, escrow services. There are two ways to perform simple multi-sig spending using Taproot, the most efficient of which is key and signature aggregation as described in this subsection. We'll examine the other mechanisms in the next subsection. For aggregation, two or more private keys are created and their pub keys are derived. The pub keys are then combined into a single pub key that is indistinguishable from any other Bitcoin pub key. This is used as the SegWit witness or SegWit witness program as described in the previous section. Later, the owner or owners of some or all of the private keys create a signature that are combined into a single signature that's also indistinguishable from any other BIP Schnorr signatures. This must commit to the same transaction digest as described in the previous subsection, but the result is a multi-sig spend that is completely indistinguishable from a single sig spend. You may have noticed that the preceding paragraph is vague about the exact mechanism used to aggregate the keys and signatures. The reason for this is because there are multiple known methods, and any of them can be used by the participants. It's even possible for researchers to find new methods and implement them in Bitcoin wallets without any consensus changes. This is because the signature algorithm is only locking for a single pub key and a single signature that are valid under rules described in the single sig suggestion above. That said, of the methods known, the MuSig protocol is probably the best studied aggregation protocol in the context of Bitcoin. The number of bytes used for aggregated keys and signatures is exactly the same, no matter how many signers are involved. This can be compared to pay-to-witness script hash multisig, where each additional pub key adds 8.50 virtual bytes, and each additional signature adds about 18.25 virtual bytes. As we see right here, pay-to-script witness hash Pay-to-witness script hash increases steadily, but Taproot actually stays the same. Transactions with k signatures for n of 15 pub keys with n larger or equal to k, which would then be a threshold signature if n is larger than k. Okay, moving on to complex spending with Taproot. Bitcoin's script language allows users to specify what conditions must be fulfilled in order for their Bitcoins to be spent, conditions that sometimes require more than just signatures. Taproot not only supports this feature, but enhances it in several ways. We can consider this by looking at a basic hashed time lock contract, HTLC, similar to those used in Lightning Network and cross-chain atomic swaps. This contract can termine three ways. 1. Alice receives the contract money, a payment, by publishing a pre-image that releases the contract's hash lock. 2. Bob receives the contract money, a refund, after a time lock has expired. And 3. Alice and Bob mutually agree about how to distribute the money, usually because one of them could use one of the preceding conditions to force a payment or refund. To take the Lightning Network case of HTLCs as an example, we can produce two independent scripts, each of which handles one of the first two items above. For the first, it would be a op hash 256 and a hash of the op equal verify of Alice's pub key and then a op check signature. And for the second case, we would have the time with a op check time log verify and a op drop with Bob's public key and a op checksig. These separate scripts are then hashed so that they can be used as the leaves of a Merkle tree. As described earlier, the data to be hashed is prefixed with a tag, itself hashed, indicating its purpose. The tab leaf is the tag in this case. The leaves must also include the size of the script and a version. Only the version 0xZ0 is defined in this proposal. Other versions are available for future soft fork upgrades. After the two scripts are hashed, their digests are put in lexicographic order. This ordering will allow later verification of the Merkle inclusion proof without knowing whether or not each leaf or branch appeared in the tree to the left or the right of its pair sibling, thus reducing the amount of data that needs to be communicated, as well as potentially improving privacy. After ordering, the two hashes will be hashed together with a prefix tag of the tab branch. As this Merkle tree only has two leaves, the result hash is the Merkle root. And we see here in this diagram the first spending condition or spending script and the second one. Both of them are individually hashed with the tab leaf tag in front and then the hash of Alice's script, same with Bob's. And then these two again are hashed with the prefix here of the tab branch. And this here then is the Merkle root. Thus we have a tree of hashes, well, the Merkle tree. This Merkle tree only covers two of the HTLC's possible end states. For the third case, where Alice and Bob mutually agree on a spend, they can use a signature aggregation using something like Music, as in the multi-sig section above. They work together to create a single pub key called the Taproot internal key. The Merkle root and the internal key are then hashed together with the prefix tag tab tweak, and the resultant digest is used as the private key from which the public key is derived. This value being known as the tweak. The tweak pub key is added to the internal key in order to derive the Taproot output key, the key that is used in any Bech32 address and script pub key that pays these three conditions. So we have Alice's pub key and Bob's pub key, and they are then aggregated to the Taproot internal key. The Taproot internal key, together with the Merkle root hash digest right here, is then tweaked or is tweaked to a hash digest, which is then further tweaked with a 32-byte integer, which then is the private key. And out of this private key, we can compute the public key, which is also tweaked here with Merkle root and Taproot internal key. And this then this tweak public key, together with the Taproot internal aggregated public key of the music Alice and Bob, generates the Taproot output key, which is the pub key committed to on the Bitcoin blockchain time chain. When it comes time to spend the money, either Alice or Bob can provide the script they want to use, the data needed by it, a signature, and in Alice's case, a hash preimage. The Taproot internal key and the hash of the script they did not use. Alternatively, Alice and Bob can work together to use signature aggregation after accounting for the tweak to provide a signature in combination with the same single key. Single signature spending pattern described in the previous subsection. As long as the data they provide in either case is correct, their spend will be accepted. So here we have the script pub key in virtual bytes, the witness bytes, and the total bytes. For the first case, a pay to witness script hash, where Alice spends out of her script. The script pub key has 34 bytes, the witness 55.25 virtual bytes, which in total is 89.25 bytes. For the pay to witness script hash of Bob's spend, here with the time log, has the same script pub key size as Alice, because this just is a hash, but the witness program is somewhat smaller because it includes a time log and not a hash or hash preimage. And then the total virtual bytes here, of course, then therefore are for the second spending case smaller. For the pay to witness script hash of the mutual spend, there are no exact numbers available. In Taproot, if Alice spends, we have a 1 virtual byte larger script pub key, and that is because of the prefix of the Taproot hash. Uh, the witness virtual bytes is also somewhat larger than in the pay to witness script hash. So in total, the total virtual bytes is larger than in the pay to witness script hash for Alice. And same, no, and for Bob in the Taproot spending condition, again, same script pub key size as Alice's, but now it is smaller in the witness virtual byte size than here in the pay to witness script hash case, which then means in total, or no, sorry, it is also larger. No, sorry, it is not. Then here, this means in total, the Taproot spending condition for Bob's case is even smaller than the pay to witness script hash of Bob's case. And the beauty in the Taproot mutual case, we have here 35 script pub key virtual bytes, same as the other Taproot conditions. And the virtual byte size, though, is a lot smaller with just 16.25 virtual bytes, because this is a music spend. And therefore, the total virtual byte size is ridiculously tiny, with just 51.25 virtual bytes. Because we choose to use a small tree and a simple example script, the cost of using Taproot script path spending is similar to the cost of the data that can be omitted from the unspent branch, leading to slightly higher cost of Taproot in the case where Alice spends. However, the case where Bob spends is slightly cheaper, and the case of the mutual spend is significantly less expensive than any of the other options. And using it would completely hide that this was an HTLC. The maximum depth of the tree is 32 rows, allowing a tree to contain a maximum of around 4 billion scripts. However, only one of those scripts would appear in any spending transaction, and only 32 hashes directly related to the Merkle tree would need to be generated to prove the script was part of the tree. This means that more complex scripts than our simple HTLCs can gain much larger efficiency improvements than seen above. See an article focused on Merkleized abstract script trees for more information. Slight changes to scripting with Tapscript. When using Bitcoin script with Taproot, some of the rules have been changed, most notably unused and invalid opcodes redefined. The bytes of opcodes that were never assigned or which were made invalid by Satoshi Nakamoto, or which were created for upgrades and have not been used yet, have all been changed to have semantics of an success opcode that unconditionally renders any script containing that code valid. Because future soft forks can only add new rules by making previously valid things invalid. This maximum validity today will allow maximal flexibility in future soft forks. Of course, receivers get to choose what script they use to receive payments, so no one should include an success opcode in their script until a soft fork has given it a new consensus enforced meaning. Schnorr signature required. ECDSA signatures will not be accepted in Tapscript. New script-based multisig semantics. The current OpTech multisig and OpTech multisig verify opcodes are not available in Tapscript. There are two alternatives. First, the existing single signature OpCheckSig and OpCheckSig verify may be used in series. For example, a 2 of 2 multisig would be Alice's pubkey with OpCheckSig verify and Bob's pubkey with also OpCheckSig or just OpCheckSig. Second, a new OpCheckSig add or OpCS add opcode may be used to increment a counter if a signature matches a specific public key. For example, a 2 out of 3. This would be then Alice's pubkey with OpCheckSig, Bob's pubkey with OpCheckSig add, Charlie's pubkey with OpCheckSig add, and then op2 op equal. This change is made to allow for batch verification of multiple signatures, which can significantly speed up verification compared to checking each signature independently. Redefining SIGOPS limit. Because verifying signatures in the most CPU expensive operations in Bitcoin script, an early version of Bitcoin added a limit on the maximum number of signature checking operation, SIGOPS, a block could contain. And versions of this limit were applied to later pay-to-script hash and SegWit v0 scripts. However, one problem with this limit is that miners must consider two factors when trying to select what valid transactions to include in a block. First, fee density, which is fees per virtual byte, and SIGOP density, which is SIGOPs per virtual byte. This is much more difficult than optimizing block composition based on just fee density. Taproot resolves this down to one parameter by requiring valid transactions using Taproot spends to include a certain amount of data for each SIGOP that succeeds. The rule is one free SIGOP, and the witness must contain 50 bytes of data for each additional SIGOP. Since Schnorr signatures are at least 64 bytes, this should provide more than enough space to cover all expected uses. And it means that miners can simply include the most profitable valid Taproot transactions in their blocks without worrying about SIGOPs. Taproot and Tapscript summary and next steps. Together, these proposals bring Bitcoin two features that developers have been wanting for years. The first of these features, Schnorr signatures, will make available increased privacy and reduced fees for the growing number of Bitcoin users taking advantage of multi-sig security, including Lightning Network users. And research into advanced uses of Schnorr, such as scriptless scripts and discrete log contracts, may enable many significant improvements in efficiency, privacy, and financial contracting without further necessary consensus changes. The second feature, Taproot based Merkleized abstract syntax trees, allow developers to write scripts that are much more complex than they are possible today, but still minimizing their on chain impact by allowing spenders to only put the minimum amount of data on chain, lowering the fee rate for advanced users while also improving their privacy. Finally, because there is a strong chance that many single sig, multi sig, and mask based spends can all be resolved using nothing but a single pub key and single signature, it becomes much harder to track different users who are using different Bitcoin features, an advantage that benefits all Bitcoin users by making Bitcoin ownership harder to track and thus Bitcoins more fungible and harder to effectively censor in piecemeal fashion. However, the future of these proposals is not certain. At this stage, they need careful review by experts in cryptography and Bitcoin protocol, as well as from application developers who plan to use these features. Following that, they will need to be implemented for full nodes, which will require more review and allow for extensive testing. An example implementation is available, but it's currently meant to help proposal reviewers. Finally, it will be up to the people who use their own full nodes for validating their incoming payments to decide whether or not they want to enforce this proposal. OpTech does not know when or if any of these goals will be accomplished, but we will do our best to keep you appraised of any progress in future editions of this newsletter. Bech32 sending support. Week 9 of 24. Until the second anniversary of the segregated witness soft fork login on August 24th, 2019, the OpTech newsletter will contain this weekly section that provides information to help developers and organizations implement Bech32 sending support, the ability to pay native SegWit addresses. This does not require implementing SegWit yourself, but it does allow the people you pay to access all of SegWit's multiple benefits. BIP173 forbids Bech32 addresses from using mixed case. The preferred way to write a Bech32 address is in all lowercase, but there is one case where all uppercase makes sense: QR codes. Take a look at the following two QR codes for the same addresses, with the only difference being lowercase versus uppercase. And here we clearly see that the all lowercase version has a larger QR code than the all uppercase version. This is a deliberate design feature of Bech32. QR codes can be created in several methods that support different character sets. The binary mode character set is used for legacy addresses because they require mixed case. However, Bech32 addresses for Bitcoin can be represented using only numbers and capital letters, so they can use the smaller uppercase alphanumerical character set. Because this set is smaller, it's used fewer bytes to encode each character in a QR code, allowing the resultant code to be less complex. Jumping into the footnote. Bech32 addresses have three parts: a human readable prefix HRP, such as BC, a separator, which is always 1, and a data part. The separator and the data part are guaranteed to be part of the QR code's uppercase alphanumerical set, but the range of characters allowed in the human readable part, according to the BIP173, includes punctuation that is not part of the uppercase alphanumerical set. Specifically, the following characters are allowed in Bech32 human readable parts, but are not part of the QR code uppercase alphanumerical set, and these special characters are included. None of Bech32's human readable parts used in Bitcoin, BC, TB, or BCRT, use any of these characters, and neither does any other application as far as we know. However, you may not want to make any assumptions in your code about uppercase always providing smaller QR codes for non-Bitcoin Bech32 addresses. Jumping back into the text. Bitcoin addresses are often used in BIP21 URI. BIP21 technically requires a base 58 check formatting, but at least some wallets that support native SegWit addresses, such as Bitcoin Core, allow them to be used with Bech32. Although the preferred form of BIP21's scheme identifier, Bitcoin semicolon, is lowercase, it can also be uppercase, as allowed by both BIP21 and the RFC 3986. This also produces a less complex image, although in the case of our QR code encoding library, gave both images the same dimensions. So here again, we see the lowercase URI has finer pixels as the uppercase URI. Unfortunately, the question mark and zero or an and needed for parsing additional parameters in the BIP21 URI are not part of the QR code uppercase character set, so only binary mode can be used. Additionally, BIP21 specifies that query parameter names such as amount and label are case sensitive, so uppercase versions of them are not expected to work anyway. Still, anywhere you want to display just an address in QR code, you should consider using all uppercase for Bech32 addresses and Bech32-like addresses. Notable code and documentation changes this week in Bitcoin Core, LND, C Lightning, Eclair, Lipsec P256K1, and the Bitcoin improvement proposals. This Bitcoin Core change extends the get wallet info RPC with a scanning field that tells the user how far along the program it is in rescanning the blockchain time chain for transactions affecting their wallet. If the user requested a rescan, or if it was automatically triggered. Otherwise, it simply returns false. This Bitcoin Core change depreciates the get unconfirmed balance RPC and the three different balance fields in the get wallet info RPC. In their place, a get balance RPC is added that provides two sets of fields. For balances, the wallet can spend is mine, a trusted field for outputs either created by the wallet itself or which have at least one confirmation. An untrusted pending field for outputs in the mempool that pay the wallet, and an immature field for outputs from a minor generation transaction that have not yet received 100 confirmations, the earliest they can be spent. For the balance, the wallet is only watching, a watch only. The same three fields are provided under a different object. This C Lightning change records details about failed attempts to forward payments so that it can later display those details in a list forward RPC. And this Bitcoin Core change removes the build target for 32-bit Windows, meaning there will be no Windows 32 binaries for future versions of Bitcoin Core. Evidence suggests that very few, if any, Bitcoin Core users are using 32-bit Windows. Peers, you gotta subscribe to the Bitcoin OpTech newsletter to catch all of the awesome content here. Thank you very much to all the funding sponsors, the principals, and associates of this great open source organization. Peers, also thank you very much for joining me here today and see you on the next show. Bye bye.